Good morning. Sorry for being a little late. Gonna continue with Vimala's book, The Voyage into Oneself. Every misuse of the physical and every misuse of the physical and psychological organism adds to our misery and sorrow. And therefore the foundation of religious life is a natural relationship with the body and mind. One who indulges in sensual pleasures has no respect for his physical organism. One who tries to impose unwarranted austerities on the body has also no respect for the physical organism. Austerity and indulgence are of the same quality of mind. The foundation of religion is a natural relationship with the body and mind. I do not know if you have ever heard a speaker who comes to you in a friendly way, who has no claims to anything special. We met here this evening, at least as far as the speaker is concerned, in a very friendly way, to communicate. The speaker began with saying that when you look around nature, whether you look at a blade of grass or flower or listen to a bird, it gives you immense joy. It gives you a kind of joy which is not a sensation, but which gives you peace and a kind of bliss which transcends all sensations. When you are in the company of oceans and woods and skies, they do something to you. Everything in nature gives out its essence and wholeness, but we, the human beings, somehow seem to carry the curse of fragmentation. So we went on to find out where and how the fragmentation begins. We saw the limitations of the sense organs. Unless you walk across the known, you cannot arrive at the unknown. Understanding of the bondage opens the door of the unknown. The opening of the doors or the gates of the unknown does not need an independent effort. The effort which is necessary is the effort of understanding the known. Listening with attention is as much creative activity as speaking. Listening is an activity. It's a participation on the part of the speaker and the listener. These talks are like flowers which blossom in the communion between the speaker and the listener. They do not belong to the speaker at all. That is the beauty. I, for one, listen to the talks as attentively as you might be doing. End of the talk. Then there are some questions and answers. Question. Is what the younger generation is doing, is that the result of what the elders have done in their lives? Is this installed into them like discrimination, even at a very early age by the adults? Or is this simply a tendency that the young have to want to conform to standards of what the elders have done to their lives? Vimala. I think this is what they see their elders doing with their lives. We, the parents and teachers, create an atmosphere where conforming to social norms is regarded as something respectable. This poison of conformity and accepting authority is transmitted to their lives, even when they are still small kids. Question. You understand the known while just observing, being aware, or is it an intellectual study? Vimala. There are two ways of getting related to the known. One is through knowledge, and the other is through understanding. Knowing the ideas first and looking at the facts in the light of those ideas is the way of knowledge. The other way is understanding directly by observing what is happening within me. A person may not read the books on psychology at all, but he watches what is happening in him. Understanding is direct, whereas knowledge is indirect. Question. You sense what is going on within you, but you don't always understand it. That is where you get back to the books. There are things happening within you which you are observing without understanding them. And then for your knowledge, you're forced back to the books. Vimala. Will you will you not distinguish between knowing about a thing and understanding? Understanding refers to the nature of the movement. Knowing about it refers to the analysis and evaluations that have been given to a particular phenomenon. These two are quite distinct, are they not? When you say that there are some sensations which one does not understand, understanding is not necessarily giving it a name. Understanding is not recognizing it according to categories of the academicians, the academics. Understanding is in relation to my factual life, what it does to the body, the mind, and to my total being. We have lost, it seems, this art of directly communing with our bodies and minds. We're getting into relationship through the books. It's second-hand relationship. No religion can come into existence as long as there is this vicarious second-hand relationship with life. What happens when one is in love? Who can define it? Love is not a sensation, neither is it a feeling. It is not merely an attraction. It goes very deep. If anyone asks you to describe what is happening to you when you are in love, you cannot describe it. You will not be able to give it a name, but you do understand what is happening to you, don't you? You may not be able to communicate it in words to others. You may not be able to do it because love is something which is happening to your totality. And words are related to indicate something which is taking place in fragments. imparts. In the same way, when you stand on the shore of an ocean and you see the tides coming and washing your feet, the colors of the setting sun on the waters, it does something to you. Now, if someone asks you what is happening to you, you will just look around. You will not be able to speak at that moment. And after 1 minute, you will say, "You asked me what was happening. I cannot tell you." Wherever totality comes into function, the human language, which is related to fragments, is not able to express it. Understanding of what is happening within oneself may not enable you to communicate it into words, but understanding changes the quality of your whole behavior. And this is her fifth talk on the 11th of October 1968 in San Francisco. Hmm. I do not know what you would expect of me, and what is the information that you have received about these meetings. As far as I am concerned, these meetings are occasions for verbal communication about things which are important for every individual. There is no intention of converting anyone. One is not used to such friendly communication about spiritual matters. Spirituality, religion, and communications concerning them have been up till now conditioned by a certain tradition. A person who has transcended the frontiers of time and space. A person who has transcended all the barriers of mind and the brain, who lives in the realm of the unspeakable, in the realm of the immeasurable, comes and speaks to people. But people have created a psychological pedestal for such a person. They regard him superior to them. They may look upon him as a superhuman being and create a gap between the person and themselves. Not only a gap, but they also create a distance, temporal distance, as well as distance in space. Hence, it's very difficult to communicate about the beauty of truth and reality. There's nothing mysterious about truth and beauty. There's nothing mystical about freedom and liberation. They are simple as the flowers nodding their heads on a gentle breeze. It is something as simple as a fountain of water. The atmosphere of mysticism, of something supernatural and superhuman, in which this realization of truth has been enveloped, must be broken through first, before we can communicate. Persons coming from the East do create such an atmosphere by a different way of living, a different way of clothing and labeling themselves as sannyasis, yogis, or monks. It creates a feeling that spirituality is something for the chosen few and not for the majority, that it needs an absolutely different way of life. I would like, if I may, to suggest at the very outset that there is no such nonsense about the truth of life. It is neither necessary to retire from life to find out what the truth is, nor is it necessary to run away from the responsibilities and the duties that life brings our way. It's not an emotional adventure. It's not the strategy of isolation. It is something very simple, vibrating in every moment and movement of life. The methods that I have come to share with you, the people of California, are not intellectual decorations for me. They are as vital as my lifeblood. Truth cannot be poured into words. Words are very feeble. They are not equal to the task of communicating what is vibrating in silence. Yet we will try to find out in as simple words as possible. Words which are not heavily loaded by the association of Hinduism, Vedanta, Yoga, Islam, Sufism, Buddhism, or Theosophy. Not by any ism which may be fashionable in the world of the intellectuals today. We simply ask, how do I live? We have tried to live enjoying the sensual pleasure. It does not satisfy us. We've tried to intoxicate our minds and brains with various thoughts. We've tried various avenues of different traditions, conditionings, and patterns of getting related to one another. And we find that all these leave an acute discontent and a feeling of loneliness lurking behind. If you look within, you will find that there is a kind of loneliness, a kind of discontent. You have the clothes, the food, and the house. You have the car, you are surrounded by so-called friends. Friendship is a very difficult thing. And yet, you are lonely. You are dissatisfied. There's a kind of discontent which cannot be located. You cannot put your finger on it and say that it is the thing, that this is the thing that dissatisfies me, or that is the reason why I feel so lonely. We will not be able to describe it or define it, and yet it is there. Why? It seems to me that this dissatisfaction and loneliness is caused by an urge for truth and beauty, an urge for freedom. Every human being seems to be born with an urge for freedom. He wants to be free from all the shortcomings of his inner life, as well as the shortcomings of the society around him. He wants to be in the society and yet be free of it. He wants to live with the reality of what he is biologically and psychologically and yet not be bound by it. That urge for transcending all bondage and all barriers seems to be immanent in every human heart. We may stifle the voice of that urge. We may try to suppress it, and yet, when we are alone, relaxing, wandering in the woods, or traveling in a car, that voice again whispers into our ear, what about freedom? Unless one is free, one will never be truly at peace with oneself. Do what you will. You may surround yourself with the best written books of all the philosophers and theologians. You may wander all over the earth visiting beautiful health resorts. You may have beauty of the body, sharpness of the intellect, and sensitivity of the mind. And yet, unless you are free, totally, you will not be happy. Unless you can live and move in freedom, you, as a human being, you will not be happy. You will not be at peace with yourself. One who is not at peace with himself cannot emanate peace around him. If you are at peace with yourself, every difficulty becomes an opportunity to express that peace within. If you're not at peace with yourself, every opportunity becomes a difficulty. It gets converted into a difficulty. But if you are at peace within yourself, every challenge becomes an opportunity to probe into the depth of your being and to explore your inner life. If you're not at peace with yourself, every challenge is converted into the ugliness of a problem. Problems are not facts of life. A problem is a reaction created by the mind to the challenge of life. A problem is not reality at all. When the mind is not capable of responding to a challenge, is not capable of meeting the challenge totally, it converts the challenge, the simplicity, the beauty of the challenge, into a problem. The ugliness of complication. What is ugliness? Complication. Complexity is ugliness. Simplicity is beauty. I'm not asserting anything. For me, simplicity of perception, comprehension, and response is beauty. Totality is expressed only through simplicity. Complications, complexity, is fragmentation of that totality. Fragmentation is ugliness. There is no other ugliness in life. One cannot be happy and at peace with oneself unless one is free. Only in freedom can simplicity come to life. Only in freedom can truth breathe. Let us go into this question. Let us find out if our inner life can receive the flood of truth as this room is flooded with the sunshine. A few minutes ago, it was clouded, and now it is flooded with sunshine. Everything changes. Even the perspective and the quality of perception changes. The things do not change. They are the same. They were there 10 minutes ago. And yet when the room is flooded with the piercing rays of the sun, the very quality of perception changes without your knowing. You do not have to make an effort to change the quality. It gets changed by itself. In the same way, when the whole psyche is flooded with the light of truth and beauty, the perception and its quality changes immediately. Let us now find out how one can be free, how one can arrive at that dimension of freedom. In the East, as well as in the West, meditation has been regarded as the way to freedom. The word meditation is greatly misunderstood and misinterpreted. Meditation is a way of life. But before we find out what meditation is, let us take into consideration what it is confounded with. It is confused with concentration, mistaken with concentration. Concentration and meditation are diametrically opposed things to each other. Concentration is focusing your attention on some point to the exclusion of everything else. You can concentrate upon individuals, living or dead, on virtues which are attributes of the mind. You can concentrate upon the concepts of gods and the images created by man. Look at the vanity of man. He tried to create the image of God. He was created in the image of God. Now he wants to create God. All the temples created by the human mind and brain are the exhibitions of man's vanity to capture God into name and form. God is beyond all that. I come from the country where around every corner there's either a temple or a mosque. Either you concentrate upon the concept and the image of God created by the human mind, or you concentrate upon some individual whom you accept as your master, a guru, or you concentrate upon some idea. Now, when you try to focus your attention, you want to exclude it from the rest of life. Pupils who want to concentrate complain to their teacher that the mind was distracted. What is distraction? Distraction is attention refusing to be focused exclusively on one point. Attention wanting to embrace the whole of life. We try to focus it on one point to the exclusion of everything else. Meditation is not an exclusive activity of the mind. It is not an act of the will at all. It is a state of total being. It is a dimension of consciousness. Concentration is an act of mind, a mental activity, an act of the will. Meditation is a state of your growth. It's a state of total growth. It's a dimension of consciousness. Once you grow into it, there's no coming back into the former state at all. You do not have to be on your guard. When a girl grows into a beautiful young woman, she's not afraid that she will regress back into childhood. She is that. In the same way, meditation is a state of total being in which one is free. We will come to the content of freedom later, but we must distinguish concentration from meditation. Concentration has its utility in life. It has its value in life. If children were not helped to learn what concentration is, they would never learn what technology and science is. You need the art of concentration if you want to learn engineering and if you want to send a rocket to the moon. Concentration sharpens the brain. It vitalizes memory. It brings to the surface all the hidden latent talents and powers of mind. We do not use all the powers of the mind when we live on the surface consciousness. There are tremendous powers in the mind as there are in the body. We're not using all the powers of our body, the glandular and the muscular energy that is at our disposal. We are perhaps using 1/10 or 1/100th of it. One who learns yoga uses every gland, every muscle. He knows how to take the utmost out of it. In the same way, one who learns the art of concentration enriches the powers of the mind. That is how powers like clairaudience, clairvoyance, reading the thoughts of others, and feats of memory like attending to hundreds of things at the same time come up. It is easy to develop these powers by practicing concentration. It is easy to develop all hidden powers of the subconscious and the unconscious. It is easy to stimulate the unconscious and make it project the visions and transcendental experiences. It can be done through concentration, but it has nothing to do with spirituality. It has nothing to do whatsoever with meditation. So I would like to emphasize very much in the beginning that concentration is not meditation. People who have developed such powers may not be free of anger when they come out of their concentration. When they come out of their so-called retreat, you will find that the quality of their consciousness and the texture of their relationships have not been transformed. They're just the same. Practicing concentration merely heightens the sensitivity of mind. It widens the horizons and the scope of experiencing. Now you are experiencing in the outer world, and with concentration you start experiencing the content of the inner world. It's an adventure in experiencing. It is an adventure in experiencing. But still, the ego is there. The self, the me is there, taking the experience of vision, indulging in the experiences of the transcendental world. Whether you increase the power and heighten the sensitivity through taking drugs, as many of the young people are doing in this country, or you do it by creating certain sound vibrations, chanting certain mantras, the mechanism is the same. Whether it is so-called secular experience or transcendental experience, the urge to experience is the mischief of the ego. It has nothing to do with religion at all. Religion is melting away of ego. Religion is exploding the myth of the ego as an independent entity. Then, what is meditation? Meditation is a dimension of growth, a dimension of awareness. So, how does one proceed? How does one grow into that dimension of awareness? If concentration is not the way, as is apparent, then what is the way? And this I'm gonna read tomorrow morning. Have a really good day. Bye.